Hello everyone, as I'm recording this, it is exactly 1:38 on Wednesday, May the 8th, 2019, and I am standing out here at the intersection of 8th and Olive Street in the middle of Fernandina Beach, Florida, on Amelia Island. And today's vlog is going to be very personal to me. I'm taking these videos more for the purposes of nostalgia and posterity. Because I don't know how much longer most of this stuff is going to be here, and it's changed quite a lot from when I was a kid. First off, this lot over here is where my dad grew up, and I don't know which one of these buildings it was, or even if the building he grew up in is still there. These look like they're falling apart, like they're just being used as storage buildings at this point. But it was small. It was small like this, and he grew up there with his mom and his dad, his little sister and his two brothers. He was the middle child between the two brothers, and the three brothers shared a single small cramped bedroom, and they fought a lot. And part of that drove my grandfather to really desire to build his family a nice big house, and eventually he did. And that is just a little ways down the street right over there. We'll see that a little bit later. But my grandfather owned a upholstery shop just down this street right here. And only about a quarter of a mile down the street. And an upholstery shop is a shop that takes old furniture that's been ripped, stained, it's old. They rip off all the top, all the cloth, all the padding, and then they just redo it completely. Refurbish old furniture. And so that shop is still there, and it's owned by my aunt and my uncle now, just a quarter of a mile down this sidewalk. And at this point they've branched out to doing a lot of like blinds and curtains and stuff like that too. They still do a lot of furniture over there. It's called Roland's Upholstery. And my dad worked a lot at that shop growing up. You know, even when he was a little kid, he would come in, he had chores he was expected to do. He would make a little bit of extra spending money by sweeping and doing things around the shop. And even when he was like 8, 9 years old, you know, that age where kids don't like to wear shoes, he remembers walking from home down this sidewalk to go see his dad at work, and he says that it didn't seem to matter how hard he concentrated on keeping his toes up. His big toe always wanted to fold underneath and skin his toe. He never seemed to learn, though. He said it happened over and over. Also, there was like, yeah, you can still see it right there. Right across the street there, you can still kind of see it behind this chain link fence. At this point, they've got some kind of blinds on the chain link fence, but right there is some kind of giant water pump. And he didn't know what it was when he was a kid, and it looked to him a lot like a giant like robot, like the one from Lost in Space. And like he would think that one day it would come to life and start, you know, marching around and shooting lasers, or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, that was something that haunted his childhood, was that water pump over there with its menacing look. Now, this animal hospital right here at the intersection has been here a very, very long time. And the house that I'm going to show you next that my grandfather built actually has a lake in its backyard. And so when my mom and dad were dating, there was a dog, I don't know if it was her dog or one of Dad's dogs, that got a hold of one of the fishing poles that was beside the lake and ate the bait off of the hook, and of course got the hook embedded in his mouth. And so my mom was like, oh dear, I don't know what to do. Well, we've got this animal hospital right here. So she picked up the dog and the fishing pole and just walked a few hundred yards over here and came into the waiting room and sat down, or, you know, signed in. And everybody was looking at her weird, and she couldn't figure out why. And then suddenly she realized that she was still holding the fishing pole. And most everybody was thinking, why'd you bring the entire fishing pole? Why didn't you just cut the line? You know, the fish hook is the problem, not the fishing pole. They didn't know that all she had to do was walk all the way over here, and she wasn't thinking about that. She was just thinking, this poor dog has got a fish hook stuck in his mouth. I gotta get him over here. Also, I don't know if it's still here, but one of these big trees in the middle of this lot right here is a pear tree. In 1 year, it yielded so many pears that the people that owned this property didn't mind us coming in and getting really as many as we wanted. And at the time, we were young enough we could just scramble up trees. So I remember climbing up there and bouncing on the limbs and just hearing the pears raining to the ground and picking up bags and bags and bags full of them. And we couldn't, of course, eat that many pears before they went bad, so my mom made jars and jars and jars of pear butter. And we had peanut butter and pear butter sandwiches, it seemed like, for at least a year after that. And you would think I would get tired of pear butter, but I still love it. Okay, so just a little ways down, literally right next to the lot where my dad grew up is the church that my dad went to every Wednesday and Sunday, and then even more during special events and revival services and whatnot. Now this is the original church over here, which now serves the purpose of youth center and Sunday school rooms and all that. But this building right here was the church that my dad attended for his entire childhood. And then later, when the church got a little bigger, they built the second building, the church that is occupied now. And the pastor lived right there. Still does. It was right over here. Pastor Levitt. And so when we did our family vacations out here to come see my grandmother, and this is the estate, the big house that my grandfather built. You know, when it came time to go to church, we would just walk over. Didn't even have to get in a vehicle. Just walk on over and going into the church service. Still managed to be late though, much of the time. Okay, so now guys, we come to the house that my grandfather built. Now this building is being used for something called the Amelia Island Animal Resort and Lodge. It's like a place where if you need to leave on vacation and you can't bring your pets with you, you can bring them here, and they have plenty of room and playtime and stuff like that. They probably do some kind of pet grooming too. But that's what my grandfather's dream house is now. And wow, I'm seeing this for the first time in quite literally years. It has been fixed up. So nice. Just look at this. There's solar panels on the second floor there. And it's just very cleaned out. I like this kind of light blue look they've got there. That's new. The tin roof, don't remember it being a tin roof. Now, if you'll notice, the windows for the second story, if you were to open them, these don't look like the type that can be opened. They were when I was a kid. You could step out the window and step onto this first floor balcony here. And as kids, that was just too tempting. And we did that a couple of times. And the last time we did it, we got in a load of trouble. That was the only time that I can ever remember my grandmother spanking me so hard that it actually hurt. Normally, if she tried to get stern and spank us, it was not you know, hard enough to hurt. But the reason for it was we came around the side, and at the time, the power, where the power comes in, it came in further down, like somewhere over here. And so to continue around this roof, around the side, we had to actually duck underneath the power relay. And so when my grandmother came out and saw us on the roof and saw us ducking underneath power lines to continue our little adventure around the side, she was so afraid for us, and it made her so angry that we had put ourselves in harm's way that bad that she spanked us for that. All right, they're doing a little tour for somebody too. So this area right here, I do not even remember. Oh, okay.
Is it gonna come back?
It's coming back to me a little bit.
They said this used to be a grandfather's suite.
Yes,
I think
it was like a living room.
Yeah, it was for
this was like, okay, so like against this wall here what was it? Couches. Couches
Okay.
against this wall, and then further up that way was where they did the quilting.
Okay.
And they had an electric keyboard.
Ooh,
Out
cool.
there. That's where my grandmother practiced and, for the whatever the upcoming church service was.
Oh, cool.
Come up with the songs.
Awesome.
Okay, right here where this area is right here where the dogs can play in this fenced-in area. Right there was a giant fig tree. Did you guys cut down the fig tree? Come on. There's a giant fig tree here that produced white figs like crazy every year. At one point, my mom just kind of left us here with our grandparents for about 2 weeks during one summer. And I ate catfish out of this lake almost every single day. I got really good at catching them and really good at cooking them. I still love catfish. Okay, the front door. I can remember so many times my grandmother greeting us at the front door. We'd come in late at night. Folks had been driving all night. She would always say, "I love you to pieces," and give us big hugs right here. And around here, the kitchen is in the same place. Right here. It looks like it's been shortened up though. This direction, it's been shortened up. There was a glass top table at the end of the kitchen here. That was always there. The staircase on the outside up to the second floor. This is about where the refrigerator always was.
Okay.
And I remember my grandmother actually had a picture that she'd cut out of a magazine of a woman, and she had cut the face out of it and put a picture of her own face over it. Because she was a lifelong member of Weight Watchers Society, and she said that's the way I want to look, and it was like her motivation, and it was on the refrigerator too. So
how funny.
yeah, and then and this was the pantry where all the cookies were, right there too. So I pilfered a lot of cookies and sweet cereals out of this pantry here. Yeah, and a lot of Christmas dinners prepared over here in this area. Tons of Christmas dinners. Yeah, alright. They're letting us go up the stairs here. Now this probably has, oh, okay, yeah, this is really all I wanted to see right here. This big open area right here. Guys, right here was where the big TV was, and that was where I played a lot of Super Nintendo, watched a lot of Saturday morning cartoons, right there. And there was big long couches. Of course, my grandmother had plenty of couches because they owned an upholstery shop, so they had nice big couches. And right there in that corner was a chimney. Well, actually, it was a Franklin stove.
Oh, got it.
Right there. It was piped out through the roof. I'm sure that has all been taken out since then. And right here, it was either this window or this window, was where we snuck out and stepped down onto the balcony for the first floor and walked around and got in so much trouble walking out there as kids. And I think this was my dad's room right here.
This is storage for us now.
Yeah. And the master bedroom is down there, of course, at the end of the hallway.
That's her office now.
Yeah, these are all offices. I can't really go inside them. That's understandable. But yeah, this... and this right here is new because the banister was always just railing that we would slide down and we would swing on, and it got wobbly because we did that so much. This feels much safer here. One last thing I wanted to say about this, now that I'm looking at the ceiling, my grandfather got a deal on pre-made ceiling joist or roof joist. Okay, I don't know how to say that. The ribs, the joist. They were pre-made. He got a really good deal on them. But he was just one man, so he didn't really know how to get everything up there because they were too heavy for him. So he actually went out to 8th Street and flagged down a crane, waved them down, and they drove in here, and one by one, they picked up all the joists and put them on the top. Of course, he had to go back and put them in place. I think he had the crane kind of put them in place a little bit. And then he just kind of gave him some cash, and the crane operator went on his merry way. Probably never reported that little bit of extra pocket money. from what she was telling me, there's not nearly as many fish in here, and the water level is much lower than I remember too. They said the water level went down once they started building these apartments, so apparently they've hit some kind of underground water source and diverted it. But the water used to be up to about here most of the time. And the fountain was not there, of course. But we had a little plastic boat that I used to just kind of drift around in and fish the bank and catch lots of catfish. Standing here again, the memories just come flooding back. The fish out of this lake is really where I learned how to clean fish. I learned how to skin catfish and clean fish right here beside the lake. My cousin brought over a .22 rifle, and we shot a piece of a whole cinder block so many times that it crumpled and broke in half. That happened right here. And there was one time when my uncle was here that I got that plastic boat out here close to the middle of the lake, and then capsized it because I was horseplaying too much. And I wasn't a real strong swimmer, and made it to about right here and actually started yelling for help. Of course, if you're able to yell while you're swimming, you're not really in any danger yet. It's when you start getting quiet and you're bobbing under. But I made it the rest of the way and climbed out, of course. I'm still here. Yeah, I had a little drowning scare in here. My uncle, my dad's younger brother, actually used to swim in this lake a lot. There was at one point, they actually had an alligator get in here, and they had to bring out a wildlife specialist to get it out. And he got it out with a giant fishing pole, and then took it on to a restaurant, because there are restaurants around here that will serve alligator. Wow, okay. I'm sure you guys are done with all the reminiscing. But like I said, this whole video is for nostalgia and posterity. And I'm glad I took this time to walk around the old family vacation, come see grandma house once again. And I'm glad it's still here. I'm glad they're taking good care of it. I'm glad it will be here for a while. Alright guys, we'll see you on the next video. One last thing that I learned is that animal hospital just down there that my mom brought that dog to with the fish hook stuck in his mouth, those people are the same ones that bought this house, fixed it up, and made it into a dog resort and lodge. So it's funny how these things kind of tie back together, isn't it?